bruises shortly after the assault. I lie back on the bed. It's spongy and slender, and my knees are off of it. I wait to feel her hands. I look at her name tag, Dr Archie Verma. When did they start putting first names on doctor's badges? I don't remember that. I was a specialist when I was younger. I never knew their first names. They always spoke over me to Mum, Dad, and to the other doctors. They rarely asked me stuff, even when I could have just told them the answer. Dad said we had to be careful how much we told them, so I kept my mouth shut while they pried around me, poking me with their fingers. I was an interesting case study for them, an experiment. I never thought about it before in great detail. But as I wait for Dr Verma to poke at me, I remember what it felt like on the cold steel tables in the clinic in London. The eyes, the shaking heads. I just used to get a lollipop from Mum and look away. When is Archie Verma going to touch me? I hold my breath waiting for it. She puts the sheet back over me. Okay, Max, you definitely had a tear down there, but I can't tell without cleaning where it is or if we need to put in a stitch. I'm going to take a few samples, and then I'm going to clean you up with saline solution, okay? And then we'll find out what the bleeding is coming from. I nod compliantly, as always, and she goes away and comes back with a bottle of liquid and some other stuff, which makes the clank when she puts it down on the table. Then I feel a pulling. Ow. I'm sorry. This will hurt. It's important, okay? Okay. I shut my eyes and try to think about football, running, the outdoors, fresh autumn air, leaves that crunch, girls' lips, fireworks night, and then the uncomfortable feeling stops and Dr. Verma says, it's over. She uses a cloth to dab hesitantly at me. I watch, not saying anything still. She's much more gentle than the specialists. She looks up and crooks her mouth at me, apologetically. Nearly done, she says quietly. She takes the cloth away. Okay, I'm just going to press in a few places and you're going to tell me if it hurts, okay? I nod and she presses around me. Then she says, I don't usually do this, but I'm going to put in one stitch. I'm being very brave now. She gets up, takes off her gloves, and fetches a clean pair. She gives me a painkiller. Then she says, this is a local anaesthetic, and rubs some liquid on me, and turns away for a minute, screwing tops onto some vials with sticks in them. And she turns back to me and asks me to close my eyes. I feel her tugging, and then she says it's done. I put my clothes back on behind the curtain, and she tells me what medicine she's going to give me. Before she gets me off the bed, she rolls up my sleeve and takes a blood sample and a needle from my arm. She talks to me while she's doing it, giving me more instruction. Max, she says, businesslike, rolling down my sleeve. I want to ask you something. I try to focus and Dr. Verma looks serious. Do you think it's going to happen again? No. She stares at me, like she's trying to assess whether I'm telling the truth. Are you sure? I nod. Max, I have an obligation if I think you're likely to be assaulted to go to the police. No, I shout, suddenly terrified. But I'm not going to, she says. Not without your permission. Because you told me it's not going to happen again, and I believe you. But do you want to contact the police? Do I say. I'm surprised. Weirdly, I guess, I hadn't thought about it. No. I could go with you, she says. I shake my head. I don't want anyone to know. Your parents don't have to find out, she says. My dad's the Crown Prosecutor. She takes a little breath in and holds it for a second, and nods, letting it out. I see. My dad prosecutes all the criminals that the police pick up in the area. He sees every case that's tried here. I don't want either, I say. I don't want anybody to know. Dr. Verma nods and says quietly, I took some samples, so I have his DNA. You do? I look over to the vials, and she collects them and puts them on her desk. Yes. I grimace, and don't ask her how she knows for sure. I can store them, and I can also get the samples analysed, so that if you wanted to go to the police, all the evidence will be here. She must see that I look uncomfortable, because she says, it can just be between us. unless you tell me otherwise. I nod. So, do you want me to call someone from the local station? They could come see us here. We don't even have to leave the office. We could ask them not to tell your dad. She looks at me really nicely. I'm just a blank. I'm just tired. I just want it to be over. I don't want anyone